Here's looking at you, kid.
I could have been a contender.
You're tearing me apart!
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
One does not simply walk into Mordor. The Force will be with you. Always.
Surely you can't be serious.
As you wish.
You complete me.
Shut up. You had me at hello.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You made it to the Third Row Critics Podcast.
Finally went out and watched Deadpool.
Really?
Only after a month of being out in theaters.
What'd you think?
Movie was fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
It's good, yeah.
My experience at the theater, on the other hand, dude sitting next to me smelled like Vienna sausages, and he was one of those. It was bad. Bad.
Vienna sausages don't smell well, but a person that smells like a Vienna sausage.
And he was one of those mouth
Even
breathers.
worse.
Like
Ugh.
it sounded like he was snoring the whole movie. And
Ugh.
I don't know.
That's why in a movie that I'm really excited to see, I buy the
A
seat
whole row?
next to me. Yeah.
And go at noon.
I get the 2 edge seats, and then I buy the 3rd seat in so that there's a buffer,
Nice.
which
It
makes me
was-
sound like a
We went to the one in
D-bag, I
Vineyard,
guess.
and it was still packed. Like a month later, it was still a sold out movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if a lot of people didn't have... No, that's not true. Everyone had really good expectations for this movie.
yeah.
I think
I'll say, like... I
think
was
it's just
like,
really
maybe,
popular.
Yeah, like maybe they had poor expectations, and then everyone was like, no, it's actually really good.
Well, and
But-
I think the other difference is
But Ben, that wasn't me pointing at the running time to try and get you to speed up what you were talking about. By the way, is that what you thought?
yeah.
Oh no, sorry. I just meant that's
Focus.
where we just made it to where we can all see it now. So
Oh, gotcha.
um,
Yeah, I can see that. Great.
so we don't do like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and talk for 45 minutes before we stop for a break. Anyway, sorry.
No, it was a fantastic movie, and would highly recommend to anyone who is okay with that kind of humor.
Yeah,
I do tell you to go in with a warning if you are not a fan of crude or
Well, hopefully,
know.
if you're going to go see the third one, you've seen the other two.
correct.
So you kind of know what to expect at that point.
Should we see what the box office is telling us?
So I looked-
lately?
yeah.
I
looked-
heard it did great.
I looked on Friday.
Yeah.
That's when my wife and I went. I looked 1.2 billion. So
You're
it
You say
kidding me.
billion?
could be more than
Holy
that now. Yeah.
smokes.
Let's see. Box office. 1.2.
Yeah.
Oh my
$1 billion
goodness.
$217 million.
Isn't that insane?
That's
Ryan Reynolds'
unbelievable.
best movie ever for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. This probably has made more money than all the other Deadpools. Well, maybe.
I have no idea.
I don't
That's
know. Yeah,
incredible.
that's-
Now we're down a rabbit hole,
That's a
gang.
good question. I mean, his first one, I didn't even know the first one was out years after it was, out on DVD. So
Oh, really? You didn't see it for...
I didn't watch it in theaters. Yeah. First time I watched it was right after my wife and I got married, and she wasn't a fan of the humor at the time.
Yeah, I don't see,
And
I
so,
don't see her being...
Oh, no,
a fan
she
at the
absolutely-
time.
yeah.
No, at the time, yeah, when you
yeah,
first
when we first got married, so we were watching at a buddy of mine's house.
broke
and
her, Ben.
We actually ended up leaving or asking him to turn off the movie. I don't remember which, because she didn't like it that much.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
now she loves it.
I was saying,
She's the one that bought
is-
the tickets for Deadpool 3.
Okay, I was gonna say though, weirdly, my wife was like, we're like, oh, what are we doing for a date night? She's like, you want to go see a movie? I said, sure. She's like, should we go see Deadpool and Wolverine?
Oh, really?
It's like, what?
That's
Because
so
it's got
funny.
Ryan Reynolds in it. is
When
what
have
it
you
is.
ever
Yeah,
liked
that's
that?
And
why-
shirtless
yeah.
Hugh Jackman when he's...
No, my wife would...
Dude, I'd
my
watch
wife
any
did
movie
the
with
same
shirtless
thing.
Jack in it.
My wife did the same thing. We kept seeing it on billboards, and it had been out for a week, maybe 2 at the time. And she's like, I can't believe we haven't gone to go see this yet. But I'm like, yeah, I want to see it, but I couldn't even remember when it went out, when it got released.
Sure.
And then we were at a
my.
wedding.
Look at those numbers.
Are you
it's
seeing this? I just
insane.
looked up. So Deadpool 1 made $780 million gross, and Deadpool 2 made $734. So
$500 million more.
Deadpool 3 is almost equivalent to the amount of money the first 2 have made already.
That's
we're-
unbelievable.
We're a quarter billion shy, 200 or so million dollars more,
That's so crazy.
and then it will have been equal to the first 2.
It's impressive.
Which is also crazy because I'm sure that this is the same way, but like typically if you're like in the top billed cast of a movie, you'll get paid a salary to be in that movie, but then you get like
Bonuses.
tiered bonuses depending on how well the movie does after.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of actors will do like I want to cut type of thing, like a certain percentage.
Yeah.
If they have that kind of confidence in the movie. So,
Dude, you know what's crazy about that actually? So, I'm gonna forget which one it was now. I'm pretty sure it was Lord of the Rings. They were gonna cast Sean Connery as Gandalf.
really,
Gosh, it was.
would've been
I'm probably
cool,
mixing up
actually.
stories. It was either Lord of the Rings or it was.
cool with that.
It was Lord of the Rings or it was Star Wars, but some role in Star Wars. But they were going to give Sean Connery a prominent role in one of those, and then they were going to also give him like 2% on merchandising.
Oh wow.
Star Wars. I've heard this. It was Star Wars.
Yeah, and he like read the script and he's like, yeah, I don't really get it. Like, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's not
Oh
for
my
me.
gosh.
Yeah,
Oh
2%
my
on
gosh.
merchandising.
2%.
For
That's
life.
like
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. No. That.
like he would like he would be wealthier than maybe anybody else that works on those movies or starred in them, other than maybe like George Lucas himself.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? And
Oh
you'd
yeah.
be
I
wealthier
can't
than all those guys.
imagine what he turns down essentially.
A 2% royalty in Star Wars franchise merchandise.
Oh my gosh.
Also, he could be in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That powerhouse of a blockbuster.
I think had he accepted the Star Wars deal, he never would have been in
You want to know
League of
something weird?
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
When did Star Wars? When was the first one? Was it 72 or 77? When was it released?
One of them was in 77. I couldn't tell you if it was
I
the
thought
first
it was
one or
like
not.
75. Let's see.
I'm just
Star
having a random
Wars,
thought as far as like
77.
Yep.
episode 4. Wow. Yeah, I was just having a random thought as far as like the distance of time between that movie and when League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was released is less time than right now and when League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was released.
You know what that reminds me of is when they make those comparisons about Cleopatra and stuff. You heard those?
Maybe.
That Cleopatra is closer in time to today than she was to the Great Pyramids of Egypt.
Wow.
That's pretty wild.
I'm sure I'm 100% sure I just got that wrong, but I think it's something close to
But
that.
stuff like they share stuff like that and it
That was that
It's
was a good
kinda
analogy. It
mind-blowing.
leads us right into our movie that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, does it?
It sure does.
It's almost like I'm
Do
great
tell.
at my job. I got to step away for 2 seconds to get some. You guys keep going.
we're going to keep going.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. The best rock stars out there.
They really are delicious. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. I can't believe that. I mean, especially for the time, that was such a weird concept. There was no way of knowing that it was going to have any type of success. So I can't blame Sean Connery. That's such a stab in the dark.
Well, it is like a weird thing anyway, because like I'm back, by the way, but like fandom and
Thanks.
stuff is so different now than it would have been then. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
like there was no such thing as Comic-Con when they were thinking about doing
Nah.
these. Like, and so for him, it's like, yeah, that's never going to go anywhere. I'm not interested. It's perfectly reasonable.
It's hard to predict that kind of stuff.
Dude, even when they released the movies, let's see.
Because there
'Cause
was other
it's-
sci-fi stuff that was coming out or being created around the same time. So it wasn't like the genre was brand new.
Well, yeah, but even this
And
was
so-
like, it was so, when episode 4 released, gosh, it was George Lucas and then somebody else. I want to say maybe Harrison Ford or, man, I can't remember. One of the top billed cast, I guess. But they like went on a trip or something.
They didn't want to be there for their release.
Yeah, because they were worried it was
Oh,
going to be
really?
so terrible that they didn't want to be like in public for it. They just went like and took a vacation while it was released
Yeah.
just in case.
Like off grid, come back, they get a phone call or they talk with their,
Yeah.
their agents or whatever, and they get told, hey,
It's a hit.
biggest
Guess who just
success in
became
Hollywood.
millionaires.
Yeah.
Guess who changed the world?
Yep. Guess who's making residuals for the rest of their life and for their
No
kids
kidding.
and grandkids and
Speaking
great
of
grandkids?
top cast, though, did you see Mark? Not to get political, but did you see him in the DNC?
Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
No.
So they had him come out to the DNC, and he goes,
Like the big convention, right?
yeah, and he gets up.
That was
and
a stupid thing I just said.
But he gets up and he's dropping the whole like, may the force be with you kind of thing.
Oh,
but
sure.
He goes, and
He says that every night before he goes to bed.
Well, and he goes, and to Donald Trump, force you, and like, yeah,
Did people go nuts for that?
Yeah, it was so
yikes.
terrible. Like, I watched it and I laughed because it was that bad. Like,
That's
How
pretty cringy.
far do you want to?
Yeah.
And that's not. That would be cringy if he said that. Like,
Yeah, from the other
for
side.
any-
at a
anyone.
fancy dinner for an old folks' home. Like it's just cringy everywhere.
Force you.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay.
I've never really been a fan of him though.
I do like him in Star Wars.
That's the only thing.
The original ones, or do you
No,
like
he's
him
been in a
the
lot of
modern
stuff.
Star Wars?
Well, I know he got really into voice acting, and that's kind of where he continued his
Oh,
career.
I
Yeah,
heard
he
it was
did-
the
he's
I heard
done
it was
really
the
well.
adult film industry.
I think that's kind of an urban legend.
Yeah, that's a
but I've
myth.
heard that too. Yeah.
I had to drop that in there.
Ben's like, no, it's not an urban legend.
No, trust me.
I know.
I know.
Still black and white.
Wink,
but,
wink,
you
wink.
know.
Have you ever seen my DVD collection?
I've got all of Mark Hamill's
They are
DVDs.
not family movies.
Too funny, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Right on, man. We said that we had a perfect segue into our episode, and then we completely blasted through that into Star Wars.
We didn't even
Mitch
blast
brought
through
it-
it. We
Mitch
just
brought it back
We just
shotgun.
completely reverted back to what we were talking about originally. So we're just gonna make the giant leap and dive into our movie for this week.
We should call this every episode that Other Brothers Studios of any podcast releases is a giant leap. We could just
Always.
rename all of our podcasts
Yeah.
to a giant leap.
The Leapers.
Yeah.
With a three-letter acronym at the end of it to distinguish it between the others.
So yeah, what are we? I think it's your episode today, Mitch. What are we talking
I'll
about?
be guiding us through this episode today.
I'm excited.
And today, we're going to be talking about the 1932 classic, The Mummy.
The Mummy.
We're still in our Universal Studios Monsters movie series.
Yep.
So I hope you guys are watching along with these. These are kind of like, well, they're obviously like some of the first horror movies. So it's really cool to kind of go back and watch all these and see where the horror genre started and where it's at now. So I'm really enjoying that part of it.
Same.
I know what you mean. And these are, the 1932 Mummy is Boris Karloff. So he was in a ton of these old Universal
yeah.
movies.
And he was like, gosh, I guess we can talk a little bit more about this after I introduce the movie, but he was seriously like one of the first like superstars as far as actors goes.
And look at his face.
He plays
He's got
perfect.
a face for monsters.
That is 100% true.
No makeup on or anything. Looks just like
That
Frankenstein.
was fresh out of bed.
Yep. Even in this, The Invisible Menace, I guess that's a different horror, but he looks like, we're scrolling through pictures on IMDb for Boris Karloff, and I'm not seeing one that doesn't look frightening.
So was he in anything but horror?
That's a
May
good
not have
question.
been. So the Mummy, the 1932 release of The Mummy was directed by Carl Freund. Freund, Freund. Carl Freund. He's known for doing Metropolis, Key Largo, and The Good Earth are kind of his top movies. All which have really great reviews, and I can't say I've seen any of them.
I was going to say I don't recognize any of those.
Why don't we add them to our list?
Yeah, they're probably great.
Yeah, they probably are great.
Starring Boris Karloff, Zeta Jones, and David Manners. It's our top billed cast. Who plays David Manners plays Dr. Frank Wemple.
Dr. Wimple. Yeah, that was a weird character, wasn't it?
A little bit. There's some weird characters in this one.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I've been listening to some of our other episodes we've been recording, and I think it'd probably be beneficial for the listener if we gave a brief introduction of like the most important main characters.
Oh,
and, like,
no,
who
yeah,
they are.
totally. I totally agree.
Because we
with
kind
that.
of buzzed through these a little bit, and I think if we're a movie podcast where it was like reviewing brand new movies, it might be a little easier to follow.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
This movie is almost 100 years old, so
No,
That's fair.
let's do that.
yeah, I don't want
Well,
to throw off your flow. I just
I was
want to
going to
make
give
sure
a
we looped it
spoiler
in.
warning, but this movie is almost 100 years old.
Yeah, didn't we agree that we weren't doing spoiler
Yeah.
warnings for anything
Well,
before Y2K?
I think there. That's right. And this is well before Y2K.
well before Y2K.
Yeah, I think we talked about not giving, I guess, plot spoilers away, but there's really nothing to spoil on this movie, so I wasn't too worried about it. Let's talk about the headlining actors for this movie.
All right.
The first one is Boris Karloff.
Oh wait, hold on, because I just pulled up the IMDb page for this for Carl Freund, and I didn't realize that he was the director for this. But cinematographer. Have you guys ever heard of Metropolis?
I
don't think so.
I don't.
Can I
I'm
take
not
us
sure.
on a tiny tangent?
Please?
So Metropolis is like, it's on my list of movies that I want to watch eventually with this group, because it was known for having like these crazy sets. Like it was 1927 is when it was made.
Oh, this is the one that's like a futuristic.
Yeah, but like they made these crazy sets, and like you can see it in this little clip here with like planes and like flying through this huge city and like elevated trains and stuff. But like the stuff that they created for this movie was like frankly amazing. And
Cool.
And then Francis Ford Coppola is making kind of a play on this movie that's coming out this year.
He's still alive?
Sure, he's still alive.
I had no idea.
No idea. He'll never die. Megalopolis.
Oh.
And so this one I'm super pumped for. And
Is that
I think
Adam Driver?
I would like to go to this all three together and then do an episode on it after we see it in theaters.
That'd be
if you guys
cool.
wanna do
That'd be
that.
cool.
But I'll show the trailer to you after we're done recording, but it looks like, it just looks so epic, I guess.
It is interesting so Metropolis, was it Metropolis?
Yeah.
Was filmed in 1920 or released in 1927, and it's always interesting to me to see what people back then thought the future was going to look like.
Oh yeah.
Similar to like Back to the Future.
Sure.
When they go ahead in time, because we're like, almost 10 years past what Back to the Future thought it was going to be like. We're not even close.
That's why one of the reasons why I love the sci-fi movies.
Yeah, it's super
is for
fun.
that.
So I'm curious about this Megaopolis that's in the works.
Megalopolis.
What year is it set in? I mean, they
Sounds
call
Greek.
it the city of New Rome. So
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a fictional city, but I think I don't really know, because I mean, even just watching the trailer, it looks like there's new Escalades and stuff in there. So it's got weird themes of almost like early, like maybe 1920s or like
Almost like they're taking the parts of history that they want.
Yeah, maybe
culturally.
Stuff that just
and bringing
they
it back.
pretended that carried on.
Yeah.
Almost like Great Gatsby.
Some Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Rome and gladiators. I saw some chariots in there.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, can you imagine doing
the future is Shia LaBeouf.
Amen.
Okay. Anything else about?
Can you imagine doing what, Ben?
Oh, I was just gonna say having a modern day arena where gladiators fight, or like a futuristic one.
It'd be unreal.
Rich people have them.
Yeah, in their basements.
None of us will ever be invited to that club, so
we might be, dude. You never know. This might take off.
That's fair.
And I'm
Get
pretty
invited
sure
to some deep dark forest somewhere.
We're gonna have him on the show to talk to him.
Yeah,
about
bro. You get sponsors, immediately you're in billionaire fight clubs and basements.
Oh yeah.
I know how it works.
Welcome to BetterHelp.
I know how it works.
Anything else on Carl Freund?
No, man. I was pretty pumped to find that out. Actually, we're gonna have to. Yeah, I'll show you guys that trailer. It truly looks like a fantastic movie. And Metropolis is one that I've always wanted to watch with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right, so check out Metropolis. Okay, our next leading man for this movie, Boris Karloff. I say leading man, but then I'm like, well, he's not like he's like the love interest. You know what I mean? Or kind of the main character. But he's like the main dude. He plays the mummy.
Okay. Tell me more.
So, Boris Karloff.
He's got two personalities in this movie.
Yeah, maybe. So his
no, he does.
His birth name. So his birth name is William.
What did you just say?
What does he go by?
It's certainly what
Arthis?
No,
Arthis?
not even close. Ardith
Bay.
Ardith Bay.
Yeah.
Who is in the 1999 Mummy, the lead Medjay is Ardith Bay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they took
our
the
trivia
name
early here.
That's true. They took the name of Imhotep from the 1932 version and then made him the lead monster warrior against Imhotep after.
Kind of a cool callback.
Kind of a weird choice.
A little bit.
But anyway, sorry.
So Boris Karloff was born William Henry Pratt was his name.
Are you for real?
Yeah. That's a
he
stage
chose
name.
Boris Karloff?
I mean, this was 1920s.
I know.
Fleeing Germany.
And
he's
Boris
fleeing tax collectors.
Boris was a much more common name.
Did you look that up, or are you just making it up?
No, for real.
There's no way Boris was a more common name.
In 1920?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then William?
As far as a stage name goes, it wasn't like offhanded. Like it's like, yeah, I know Boris. What'd you Google here? Was Boris a common name in the 20s? No, Boris was not a common name in the 20s.
Here's Mitch pulling stuff out of his butt.
In the United States, Boris ranked very low in popularity in the 1920s with a percentage of 0% total births named Boris.
Not one single person, Mitch.
Listen, people were still being born in huts in the 20s.
I just want our listeners to know that this is the first time we've recorded this where we have a computer monitor where we can look stuff
We're
up
all
together.
looking at.
And it's just going to be us correcting Mitch the entire weekend. His reign of terror is over. I just want everybody to know.
This podcast is over.
We're about to get into correctness with this podcast. Not like our other podcast, the Low Grade Research Podcast, which you should check out if you're interested in that. And actually, it's a great time for you to check it out because if you're interested in the 1932 The Mummy, we just barely released an episode like 2 days ago about this exact movie and history. So make sure you go check it out.
You want to talk more about Boris Karloff?
Please.
So he had an interesting career where, his first movie that really took off, that really brought him fame, was Frankenstein.
Okay.
Guess how many movies he'd done before Frankenstein?
Well, the way you put that up, I'm going to say 0.
I was going to highball and say like 30.
You're both wrong. He did.
It's between 30 and 0.
Frankenstein.
Who's the closest without going over?
Frankenstein was the movie that kind of like brought him fame. It was his 82nd film that he'd been in.
I lowballed on that one.
What?
He'd been in the show business for a long time.
Dude, there's people that are acting now that are really famous actors who have
Yeah.
not been in 80 things.
Yeah. So, and that was the one. That's what like shot him into stardom was Frankenstein.
That's unbelievable.
Crazy, right? And
Wait,
he would
so
have been.
how old is Boris?
So he was born in 1887.
Holy moly.
Frankenstein was released in 1931. So he was 40.
And when did he start
44?
his acting career?
For his early Hollywood career, obviously he started doing silent films. Oh my gosh. There's a picture of him here as Fu Manchu.
Oh, that's not culturally sensitive at all.
Oh, he could not reprise that role
Like,
today.
I'm not sure we could even post that on Instagram.
I don't know if we can.
It'll get blocked.
Check it out though if you have a computer.
So he played Fu Manchu in The Mask of Fu Manchu
wow.
in 1932. So right after Frankenstein, that was what he did. Wow.
Probably while he was filming this movie, he went and played Fu Manchu.
No kidding. So his first confirmed on-screen role was the Lightning Raider in 1919.
Okay.
So he would have been almost 30, or a little over 30,
Yeah.
32 years old. So, and yeah, it was about
And he
44.
started in his 20s-ish.
Yeah, sounds like.
Wow.
I guess so, yeah.
Wow, he avoided
15-year time span, he was in 80 movies.
being a chimney sweep, and he avoided seems like 2 world wars.
Yeah.
So
And Frankenstein shot him so far into stardom that when they released The Mummy, if you guys look at the poster for The Mummy, notice how his name
it's bigger than
is
the title.
first, and it's almost bigger than the
yeah.
title. And he was often not even called Boris Karloff. You can see on this poster it says Karloff the Uncanny
wow.
as The Mummy. And they're like, you guys don't care what this movie is. You just know Boris Karloff is in it. You're going to want to see it.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he's like a taller, meaner, scarier, uglier Leo DiCaprio.
Almost in no way.
In almost
In
every
zero
single other
way.
way, he's the same. Huge climate activist. Only dated 25-year-olds.
Dumped them when they hit 30.
It's the Karloff effect.
Real sunken eyes. Oh, man.
And being a climate activist when he was around was just like not smoking so much when you're in public spaces.
Fair enough.
Just
All
in
right.
buildings, though.
Let's talk about our leading lady. The lovely, the fair Zita's Johan.
Alrighty.
I'm going to guess Johan.
Johan.
Boy, she had quite the role in this movie, didn't she?
She did. She was like the love interest of both sides.
Yeah, she was.
Right? Because I guess
Multi-generational love
I guess
interest, turns out.
We'll read the plot after we talk about our characters. But this is definitely the film that she is known most for.
Yeah.
Yeah, by a lot. From what I understand, scroll down on her page there. Like I don't feel. Oh, go back up. Just the movies she was in. Like
That's right there.
Yeah, there's nothing else that like stands out.
Raiders of the Living Dead, Grand Canary, The Sin of Nora Moran, The Man Who Dared, Luxury Liner. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Never heard
Tiger
of any
Shark.
of those.
Yeah. So she passed away in 1993 at the ripe old age of 89 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Living off
She was
royalties
a
from
little
the
bit younger. She was like 28 when this movie was released. Versus
Younger.
Boris, who was like 45
Yeah.
when this movie was released. So a little bit of an age gap. Well, he was also a mummy, so really there was like a 3,000-year age difference.
Yeah, like 30. I think the movie says 3,700
I
years.
think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And he looks it, man.
a little controversial.
He's whatever they did for his makeup on his face.
Oh,
he
his
looks
chin.
old as
Oh,
sin.
they just kept him late. They just kept him up late, and then perfect.
Oh, Boris, looking great.
Oh, Boris, I see you've already been to makeup. We're ready to film.
I have not. That's how I picture
I
he
have
talks.
malt.
No, I have not.
I have not.
I think he just puts an accent on for when he's acting.
I think he's British. Well, in this film, he's Egyptian, but he still has a British accent.
Yeah, back in the early 1900s, anyone could be any ethnicity they wanted.
Honestly, any accent worked fine.
Yeah, literally any accent. That's even like that weird phenomenon where, and they do it in movies now, they'll do like any period piece that's supposed to be from a certain time in history, older than like the past couple hundred years. Everybody will have like an English accent. Have you noticed that?
They just figured
Yes.
that it was
Yes.
And
I
they
have
do it
noticed that.
because it adds like some measure of like old timiness to it.
No, totally. I get
I mean
that.
that's fair.
But it doesn't matter if it's in the wrong
Part
country.
of the world.
Yes. If it's anywhere in Europe at all with white Europeans that are involved in any capacity, you do a British accent and
That's why,
call it a
that's why
day.
Germans have English accents.
Yep.
Okay, well let's. Those are big ones. So I don't think anyone else is worth talking about. So
The Nubian.
the random guy that is on screen for 28 seconds.
Yeah. If you just murder somebody and
Yeah,
then moves on.
We could talk about the Nubian, I guess.
Here's my
I
favorite
didn't
character in the whole
I didn't
movie.
research that deep to find out his name.
If we're being honest, we've talked about him more than he was even on screen. So,
All right, moving on.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so the plot of this movie.
We'll find out about that right after this.
All right, let's get back into it. So I think we just covered characters, and we're going into the plot.
So let's give you guys a quick plot of this movie. We're in 1921.
Oh, yeah.
Archaeological expedition in ancient Egypt.
An archaeological expedition, huh?
Archaeological.
That's a tough word for everyone.
There's an E in there somewhere I think you missed, but I don't want to make fun of it.
Archaeological expedition.
Good job, Mitch.
I've never been tested, but I may have dyslexia.
We're going to do a supercut of this episode with just Mitch saying that word over and over again.
Listen, I've never been tested.
Well, not that part.
Oh, that part? Well, that's going to be on a
Say
t-shirt.
archaeological.
Archaeological.
No, I can't even say.
You've messed us all up.
See, it's tricky.
It shouldn't be.
So this expedition, led by Sir Joseph Wimple, finds the mummy of an ancient Egyptian high priest named Imhotep. An inspection of the mummy by Wimple's friend Dr. Muller reveals that the mummy's viscera were not removed, meaning his organs. And from the signs of struggling, there's no comma there, Mueller deduces that although Imhotep had been wrapped like a traditional mummy, he had been buried alive. Also buried with Imhotep is a casket with a curse on it. Despite Muller's warning, Sir Joseph's assistant opens it and finds an ancient, life-giving scroll, the Scroll of Thoth. It's Thoth, so I think it's Thoth.
Yeah, that's how they say it in the movie.
It's like sauce with a lisp.
Yeah.
He translates the symbols and then reads the words aloud, causing Imhotep to rise from the dead. There you go.
There you go.
No summary or Nothing else.
That's the big piece. Oh, yeah. And then Imhotep tries to raise his love interest from the dead vicariously through the lovely Zita Johann. Thoughts?
There's
Cool, terrific.
No.
Okay, let's talk about...
no. I was going to say...
Great. Thanks for tuning in.
No, I was going to say, after watching the, 1999 movie with Brendan Fraser, I don't know. I mean, this one was still good.
What do you mean?
I still enjoyed
yeah,
it.
sure. Look, I don't... that's comparing apples to fresh apples.
Much older apples, yeah.
I mean,
Mummified
same
apples.
concept, right? Book of the Living and Book of the Dead, the scroll.
Going after Inoxinamun.
Yeah, exactly. Imhotep.
So I guess I kind of failed to mention as part of it, Imhotep is trying to raise his love, Aksunamun, from the dead.
Inoxinamun.
That's even tougher than
On
archaeological.
an archaeological expedition.
Well, what I mean though, going back, had they not filmed this movie in 1932, I don't know if Brendan Fraser would have ever been in a 1999 filming of The Mummy.
Did you know that they're going to bring back Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz for a reboot of The Mummy?
Original story
Like, actually.
of the first one, or like a continuation?
Well, I think a continuation of the ones they were in 1999.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be
it's
cool.
a continuation of the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah.
I'm
Where
out.
they just Spartan kick Tom Cruise off of
yeah.
the Sears Tower and then go and find another mummy.
Okay, I'd be in for that one actually.
And then he parachutes into Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Co-starring Boris Karloff's casket.
Boris Karloff's exhumed corpse as the mummy.
Do you like Weekend at Bernie's? Do you like The Mummy? It's got it all.
Can you imagine? On Boris Gone Wild.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stray us that far.
Well, you never do.
We've never been tested, but
Oh my Lord.
we may all have ADHD. Okay, so let's talk
Third
about...
row critics, we've never been tested.
I think we talked about the first death of the movie.
The first death of the movie?
First death of the movie.
Okay, talk about it.
So Imhotep raises from the dead because the assistant, what did you say his name was?
I don't know if I said what his name was. Neil, I think.
Neil. So he reads the scroll, kind of. He's whispering it in his head.
Excuse me,
but
it's Ralph Norton.
not even
Yeah,
close to Neil.
they're on this expedition, and
Yeah,
they
they're
have
still out and
Imhotep
about.
in his coffin behind him.
Yeah, in like a tent or something, right?
Yeah.
And so he's reading the scroll. You can see him like lipping the words. He never says them out loud. At least, you can't hear him.
Yeah.
Next thing you know is 3,700-year-old Imhotep slowly opens his eyes and, walks away. And then the dude, Ralph, laughs himself to death.
Yeah. Which I thought that was interesting, that he just kind of like
weird choice.
immediately went crazy, and then it cuts to the scene like 11 years,
10 years later.
10 years later, and it's like, yeah, he died.
Okay, how weird is it also, like when you watch the 99 version of The Mummy, or even the new Tom Cruise Mummy, like the mummy is a clear and present danger to everybody from the word go.
That quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the 1932 version, they wake him up and he just like saunters over and picks up the scroll of Thoth and then just kind of moseys on his way out. And then nobody sees him for 10 years.
Where
just
he's now
lives-
learned English.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just lives locally in the town
English
for
isn't
the
even
next
that
10 years.
hard. I think it's fine.
I think, probably just for the plot of this movie, the difference was Imhotep wasn't sure where Inoxinamun was buried, where her crypt was, versus the other ones.
So
Which-
it takes
which
him
now
the
that
10 years. It takes him the 10 years to figure out where
Which
she's
now
buried.
that I think about it, I think the newer movies made a mistake on that one because he was killed before Inoxinamun was. So this one follows a little bit better timeline accuracy of he died, so he wouldn't know where she was buried. He's got to go find her.
I mean, I guess.
Are you following what I'm saying? And
No,
it's not a huge
not
detail,
really.
but like I was just thinking about
This
that.
seems
Not-
to really be bugging you.
In the 1999 Mummy,
Yeah.
Inoxinamun kills herself while Imhotep is getting imprisoned.
Sure, but he doesn't
So
know
she
where they
dies.
put her.
No.
You never know.
While he's getting arrested.
Or while he's getting arrested,
Why?
she stabs
Because she's
herself.
basically like, if you can't have me, nobody can, and then
Yeah.
stabs herself in the stomach.
So he could have found out where she was.
it's possible,
but-
I
Yeah,
guess.
they probably just buried her right there. So
Just right there.
That's where he came back to.
Under the bed.
What?
She was in a room when she stabbed herself.
Yeah, it wasn't a bedroom.
Just rolled her
She's
under the
obviously mummified.
What are you talking about?
Later on in the movie, they find her mummy in the museum.
They're in like
way
the
off
throne
track.
room, bro.
bed. We've never been tested, but...
Oh my lord, dude.
Sorry,
We're
Mitch.
way
Bring,
off
bring us
track there.
bring us back, Mitch. Bring us back.
All right, so we're talking about performances, what we liked
Those are
about this
nuts.
movie. Also, I like that when they open the sarcophagus and Boris Karloff is there, they pretty much just threw a bunch of dust on him.
Yeah.
That was his makeup. It was like, get him a little bit wet and then throw handfuls of dirt on him.
Well, why not? Honestly.
And it worked.
What
and
else
it
are you
worked.
gonna do?
There's no modern day CGI in this film, so
Which is what I love about these films is the lack of CGI. I really do. I really do.
I mean, we've talked about that a lot, right? Because like, the capability for them to be super creative and then work on some of this stuff and make really cool things it's so different. I mean, they still make really cool stuff now, but like
Totally.
like the special effects they had to come up with for some of this stuff is super ingenious, right?
Any critiques as far as this movie goes?
I mean, I obviously it comes with time and practice of the actors or actresses on screen, but watching a lot of the movie, it almost feels as though they are acting like they're on stage, like at a Broadway
Totally.
show. You know what I mean? And obviously, like I said, it comes with time, but that'd be my one critique is I wish it was a little bit more in the moment than acting
Scene
it
by
out
scene
for a
thing.
live
Sure.
for a live audience
I
kind of
get
thing.
that, and at the time, I'm sure most of these actors came from
Oh, I'm
stage
sure.
acting, right, and then transitioned into film.
But I mean, it's really
So that's
apparent. It's
interesting,
really
yeah.
apparent in this movie.
That's fair, yeah.
Whereas,
that's fair.
you know, the last week, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, it wasn't quite as noticeable.
I think a gripe I have is that Imhotep lives in this Egyptian town for 10 years and is just like no one notices. Like he has no personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a mummy.
Like, hello,
Just like this dude,
I'm Artith Bay.
this 60-year-old guy just moved into town one day. and-
Yeah, and he's just bland like a cracker.
Well, yeah, he is kind of bland and wrinkly like a cracker.
Yeah, so there we go.
I thought it was kind of funny that at some point they confront Imhotep, and then they're like, "You are really the mummy, and you came back to life, and you've killed all these people." And then he's just like, "Yeah, so what?"
So true.
And there's nothing you can do about it, bro. And then leaves.
Yeah, you're just figuring that out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
No, I loved that.
Yeah, he knows the scrolls right there, but instead of fighting him for it, he's like, "See you later."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's already. I mean, that was, I guess, technically a second possession of the movie because he possesses. What's her name in the movie? Helen. He possesses Helen, and then he goes to the house and possesses the hand. What do they
The
call
Nubian guy.
The
is what
Nubian
they
guy.
call him,
Yeah.
He
That's
then
right.
possesses him. Like,
Oh, that's right.
10 years in this city, he should have had the entire city under his control.
No kidding, right?
Right.
That's right, because there's a medallion that is used, and you become immune.
Yeah, it's
puts a
it's
protection
a
on
medallion of the
God,
Egyptian god
yeah.
Isis.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But not everybody's wearing those. So
No,
whole,
and
the
even-
whole
You
city
can't just
should've-
pick him up
Even
at
the
a
dude
trinket
that they
store.
give one to like doesn't wear it at all. He just hangs it around his doorknob. Like that's
right.
gonna do it, you know?
He's like, wear this to protect yourself.
Okay.
And he's
puts
like,
it-
yeah, all right, old man.
Yeah. Throws it out the window into a lake. I'm good.
Yeah, he doesn't realize they just rose a mummy from the dead.
It's the
10 years ago.
1930s, old boy. We don't need magic to protect us from Imhotep.
Pretty sure people still believed in magic back then.
They still do now. Hard to say.
Okay, so let's talk about the impact of this movie.
Okay.
So, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning, this was obviously like a pretty big pioneer for horror films.
Yeah.
And, well, Universal was with all their monster movies, but this is one of the first ones that they made.
Right.
Even so, kind of bleeding into some trivia stuff, well, not necessarily trivia, but like even so, it's ranked as like number 5 of like most influential cinema films or something like that. It has a really high ranking by a... Oh crap! I forgot to write this one down. But it's like a movie organization. They rank this movie incredibly high as far as like influence.
Like the American Film Institute?
It was something similar to that. It wasn't the American Film Institute. It's
because the AFI does a lot of those rankings,
Yeah.
or Criterion Collection. This might even be in that.
Maybe that was it.
I don't know if it is for sure, but that could be.
Cool. Something else that... So Jay and I actually watched this movie together, and something that we talked about as far as like cultural impact, and maybe something that was a little controversial, was later in the movie when Helen is kind of taken by Imhotep and put under his spell and stuff. The outfit that she wears is like very Egyptian looking and, you know, fancy and whatnot. But it's, especially for the time, quite scandalous.
Very revealing.
Very revealing.
Well, like it shows basically like her whole sternum and stomach and underboob, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and the thought, when I talked about that when we were watching this, my thought was, because part of the trivia we talked about in Creature from the Black Lagoon was how kind of scandalous Kay's swimsuit was.
Yes.
And Kay's swimsuit was like by today's standards, a fairly modest one-piece swimsuit, you know, but it was super scandalous then. And so Helen in this movie is at one point wearing basically nothing but a bedazzled bra, you know.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, whoa, this is crazy for the 1930s, dude.
Super, super scandalous. So I thought that was a risky move by the writers and the director. But
then this becomes one of the most well-known movies, so they're like, must be working. So then they keep adding it into the movies.
Possibly a key to their success.
Could be. Helen herself, not what she wore.
Richard, you're going to see this film for a 4th time.
It's the story, Marilyn. It's the story.
It's quite a story. I love being scared.
It's just a night with the guys, Marilyn.
I gotta find another nickel for the film. Okay, let's talk about, let's do some fun facts.
Alrighty. What do you got?
Okay, the one that I liked. So I talked about the movie poster a little bit and how Boris Karloff's name is like the almost the main focal point of it. You're like, oh, another Karloff movie. Oh, it's The Mummy. Like, I just want to know it's a Karloff movie. So as of 2022, so the film's poster, like one of the original movie posters, is in the top 5 for the most money paid for a movie poster at auction. Any guesses as to what someone paid for this?
I actually saw the
Did
numbers.
you see this one?
Yeah.
I didn't. For an original movie poster, I'm going to guess, gosh, this is one that I would love to have, like,
Oh, right. It's so cool.
hung up in the studio, you know? It's so awesome. I'm going to guess, like, I don't know, like $250,000?
Nearly.
Really?
Double that.
Oh, my gosh.
Almost
you're kidding me.
double that. So it's number 5 for the most money paid for a movie poster, and it sold for $435,000.
That is unbelievable.
Crazy, right? So the list goes like this. At number 5 was The Mummy.
Okay.
Number 4, well, tied for number 3, I guess, is London After Midnight and Casablanca.
Ooh.
Both of those sold for $478,000.
Okay.
Number 2 is Dracula
Okay.
for $525,000. And coming in at number 1 for the most money spent on a movie poster is Metropolis.
How about that?
$690,000 at auction.
That is unbelievable.
Wild.
Can you
For a
imagine?
movie poster.
Can you imagine almost $1 million for a poster?
The crazy
Oh my
thing
gosh,
is
dude. So
that
that means
that's
this-
almost like paying for an NFT.
That's fair. It's
I mean,
like
you're
an
getting
original.
the original, which is super cool, but like,
It's like an original NFT.
I could print off a giant like 5x7 Metropolis poster and put it up in my house, and I'd probably get just as much joy out of it, and it would cost me, $1 $100 at FedEx instead
Right?
of $600,000.
I mean, if it was signed by all the actors of the time kind of thing, put even more value
that'd
on
be
it, I could
crazy,
see,
yeah.
a
Cool.
little more reasoning behind it, almost an
sure.
investment, but I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. That sounds like an investment to me. So
Blows
that means
my mind.
that means Carl Freund has 2 movies
On the list.
on that list.
Wow, dude.
Wild.
I think my favorite fact or fun fact trivia about this movie is Dracula and Frankenstein, so predecessors to this movie for Universal, they were filmed or based off of a novel or written off of the novels, but this one was based off of the actual opening of King Tut's tomb.
Oh,
is
yeah.
what I read. So
Wow.
Yeah, cool.
someone was like, "Oh, that's way cool. Let's write a film
I
about."
kind of
this."
like
Yeah,
that.
that's
It's
really
like
cool.
it was like what happened? What would happen if like there was a curse on this, and then he's kind of ran with it. I like that. I like the creativity that comes from that.
Yeah.
So I also read that the scroll of Thoth is fictional,
Okay.
but Thoth was an Egyptian god that was part of their deity of the time,
Okay.
and he was the god of knowledge.
Nice.
So there's not an actual scroll, but so I don't know where they got their teachings.
Or
from
is
Thoth.
there?
Well, they
Yeah,
haven't found it yet, which is why no mummy has come back to life yet.
Ah, that's the reason.
That checks out.
Yeah.
That checks out.
I figured it was because Harry Potter would put him back down.
Well, I don't know how much crossover there is
A
in
lot
those
in
worlds.
Justin's mind.
In my fan fiction, there's a ton.
Boris pops out with a wand.
Yeah.
Check out Jay's Harry Potter fan fiction.
Avada Kedavra.
A wand in every pie.
What? It's not that. It's called a wand and a wrap, dude. And I'll have you know, I've got 3 subscribers, so we're going places.
Good on you. Good on you. Cool.
Right on.
Did you come across anything that you thought was neat?
No.
Okay.
Good. Well, let's talk about our overall impressions for this movie. I agree with the this is a pioneer of horror film and horror story, and so that's what I love about it. By today's standards, by no means is it a scary film.
Yeah.
Was it one we talked about recently where I'm excited to show this to my kids when they're young?
Yeah,
'Cause they'll
Creature
get
from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, because they'll get a kick out of it,
Yeah.
and I think they'll enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and as far as maybe some of my missed expectations, you and I have talked about this, but movies of the time, once the main climax of the storyline happens, they just kind of end. There's not really
Exactly how this happened.
There's about 2 minutes of resolution and then roll
If that.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
To the point, it just feels so abrupt. It almost ends and then it catches in your throat a little bit. What?
Oh,
This is
totally.
it?
Yeah. You just have the credits and the ride home to get to work through it.
Right.
Make up the rest of the story on your own.
And the
'cause
silent
it
arguments
ends
with
like
your
that.
1930s wife home because you've seen that movie 6 times now and no one can figure out why.
And you still can't answer her questions because you're just focused on the last scene.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was clearly it's not as scary as movies by today's standards. I do think it has the same kind of old school monster flick feeling that scratched that itch for me so hard, you know?
Yeah.
So, I'd watch, this is feel good movies to me. Watch The Mummy, watch Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's nothing too scary. It's super predictable, but it's really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I echo that 100%. I enjoyed the whole movie.
Yeah,
I wish there was a little bit more action to it. So I guess as far
all the
as my
talking.
expectations, I would say that would be my, missed point is a little more action than what there was. But
Yeah. Less talking, more death.
Yep. Amen. I wrote 58 minutes in. It feels like there's been a lot of nothing. So maybe take that for what it's worth.
Which is, how long is the movie? An hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, something like that. So,
Yeah, it was a short film.
Yep. Hour and 13.
Wow, hour 13.
Wow, I was close.
Gosh,
yeah.
man.
So you get 20 minutes of
Benjamin.
not even that great action. She almost gets stabbed. Is about as good as
Yeah,
it gets.
that's pretty much all it is. So, right on, man.
Okay, well, what do you guys rate this movie as? Let's give it a scale. Give it a 1 to 10 rating, just like we would on IMDb. How would you rate this movie? I think its current rating is a 7 out of 10.
If we're gonna go rate like we did for Creature of the Black Lagoon, I'd probably do like performances at like a 5. Honestly, I think directing is probably a 5. The screenplay and the story I really liked. I'd probably do like a 7, and then maybe the music. It was just eerie enough, and it felt like it really drove the story pretty good. Not to mention special effects were super cool. So I think I'd probably give this like a solid 6.5.
All right, that's not bad.
Overall.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm right along with Jay as far as performance, probably closer to more of a 5. Directing, obviously the movie did really well. I'd keep it probably about a 6.5. Screenplay, yeah, I'd say probably about a 6. And then the score, I enjoyed the music or the theme of the music more than Creature of the Black Lagoon. And like Jay said, there was some good special effects for the time. I would give that probably about a 6.5 as well. So
Nice.
Right at about a 6 for me.
Yeah, for directing, 5. Screenplay, probably a 4, because I feel like there could be more stuff written into it.
Yeah.
And it was the 30s; they're still figuring movies out. So I'll give him a 5 for effort.
Wow. Like a participation trophy score.
This is real accurate. But yeah, I'd give this movie a 6.5 overall.
So I think we're all about the same page. Yeah,
Yeah.
6.5.
I'll give it 6.7.
Right on.
It was they're figuring out movies.
Where can people go if they want to learn more about this movie?
Okay, well, you guys can check us out on Instagram at Third Row Critics. Drop us a DM. Check us out for any updates and future episodes, so you know what you should be watching to join along with us.
If you want to watch this movie, we recommend that you do. Honestly, probably anything above a 4 rating from all of us, I think we are pretty good on recommendations for. So go check it out. And if they want to send us an email, Ben, where can they find us?
Yeah, you don't want me to tell them.
You mess it up every time.
What is it? Help at?
Oh. Nope.
Help at 811.
Hello at Other Brothers.
Hello. I knew there was an
Studio.
H in there.
Yeah.
It's a good
Help.
guess.
Help. No, if you need help, call 911. We can't help you.
So if you didn't catch that again, it's hello at Other Brothers Studios. See, I can't do it.
Hello at otherbrothers.studio.
Oh, there we go.
Right on. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week.